All right, this is activity 1, mechanical digestion of the Carolina BioKits Digestive Physiology lab experiment. So in this experiment, I'm going to add 50 mils of water into each of 2 beakers. It's still not even. There we go. And then into 1 beaker, I'm going to add half of an intact Alka-Seltzer tablet. The other half is all crushed and added into the second beaker. All right, this experiment is in conjunction with the activity 2 of the Carolina BioKits Digestive Physiology Laboratory. This is about gastric digestion. So the experiment is set up much like you would have been doing it yourself in the laboratory, where we've labeled already 3 test tubes, 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. And I'm going to go ahead and put a scoop of albumin into each of the tubes. So each of the tubes has approximately the same amount of albumin. And now I'm going to add 3 different solutions into the tubes. So on step 3, part A, I'm going to add 5 mils of a pepsin solution to test tube 2-1. And then I'm going to add 5 mils of hydrochloric acid to test tube 2. Okay. And finally, I'm going to add 5 mils of hydrochloric acid already mixed with a pepsin solution into test tube 3. I'm going to stir them each up, but they'll have to go into a water bath. Oops, that's under good one. Put that one. And then finally, they're going to incubate for 45 minutes in a 37-degree warm water bath. This is the end or the results of activity 2 gastric digestion. And I'm going to take tubes 2-1, 2, and 3 out of the warm water bath. And in step 7, I'm asked to add 6 drops of Burette's reagent to each tube and to swirl and mix. This is Activity 3, Intestinal Digestion of Starch from the Carolina BioKits Digestive Physiology Experiment. And we have labeled 2 test tubes, 3-1 and 3-2. I'm going to add 5 mils of starch solution to each of the test tubes. I'm going to put the first test tube into a warm water bath, the second test tube into a very hot water bath. They're going to remain here for 15 minutes. This is Activity 3, Intestinal Digestion of Starch, and the tubes have equilibrated in the warm and the hot water baths. Now I'm going to add a scoopful of pancreatin to each. I'm going to stir. And the tubes will remain in the water baths for 10 minutes. These are the results from Activity 3, Intestinal Digestion of Starch. And I'm going to remove test tubes 1 and 2 from the warm and hot water baths. And add iodine potassium iodide solution to each one. I'm going to add some more. This is activity for the intestinal digestion of proteins and lipids for the Carolina BioKits Digestive Physiology Experiment. And in this experiment, you can see we've labeled 2 test tubes, 1 and 2 for activity 4. And I'm going to add 10 mils of litmus milk solution into each of the tubes. The litmus milk is purple. In step 3, I'm going to add a scoop of pancreatin powder into tube 1. And then I'm going to add a scoop of water to test tube 2. Stir them each. And put them into a warm water bath for 45 minutes. This is the end, the results of activity 4, intestinal digestion of proteins and lipids, where our 2 test tubes, 4-1 and 4-2, have been in the warm water bath for 45 minutes. This is activity 5, intestinal absorption of nutrients from the Carolina BioKits Digestion Physiology Experiment. And in activity 5, we're going to take a moistened piece of dialysis tubing, and instead of tying it off, I'm going to use some clips. And then I'm going to add 2 different solutions into the dialysis tube. So in step 4, I'm going to place 2 mils of starch solution inside the dialysis tubing. Next, I'm going to place 2 mils of glucose solution into the tube. Instead of tying it, I'm going to clip it and rinse off extra solution. Once it's cleaned off, I'm going to place it into a small beaker of water so that the tube is submerged. All right, this is the end of activity 5, and I'm going to transfer 5 mils of the beaker solution where our dialysis tubing has been resting into tube 1. And next I'm going to add Benedict's solution. And it'll be placed into a boiling water bath. This is the results of activity 5, intestinal absorption of nutrients, which I'm going to take the beaker solution from the dialysis tube and put it into tube 2. Next, I'm going to add iodine, potassium iodide solution. To tube 2, and I'm also going to add it into the plain starch solution that we added into the dialysis tube at the beginning of the experiment.